of the many times we've seen each other was at the Red Bull BC1 B-boy battle
That's right. That's right.
in Hollywood. You were with Miles, I was with my wife and my daughter. So it's
Yeah.
like it's and the Far Side performed after the B-boy battle, but
Yeah.
it was not only great seeing you there, but to the point of if you're going to celebrate the whole culture like you and I do, then you got to really be there and
Be there.
support and do all that, which both of us do, which was great to see.
Yeah.
And with the Child of a Kingsman, the title itself, um, since movies are so significant and on the cover you're dressed kind of as in the aesthetic of the Kingsman from the
Yeah.
films,
Yep.
uh, but that's also not something I would say is such a quote unquote hip hop-ish movie per se. So
Right.
how and why did you feel like that aesthetic and that idea resonated so much, not only musically, but then also like aesthetically, stylistically?
Well, in the film, the cat that's played the star was a younger gentleman. Being that I'm of age 51, going on 52, when I dress up, I feel like I'm on that essence of what we call grown folk vibe. I know my age, I'm aware of my age, and I'm aware of the listeners, which I don't like to limit myself, but I'm aware of that. So being someone who's aware of it, I want to take risks this album. I was like, you know what? I've dressed like this before. I felt comfortable dressing like this. And a lot of times people only dress like this when they're going out for how do I say, something that's highly glorified, like a Emmys or a Grammys or red carpet per se. Being that in the film, when they were doing that, it just showed a sense of elegance. I remember when they would speak, there was a moment the guy was giving him a note. This is the recruiter, was telling him, this is a moment of elegance. We take this serious. And so that's why I wanted to bring both of that in there to show, okay, I'm a child at heart. It's like I'm tying it all into my name, a child at heart, but at the same time, I'm on my grown folk business. So even if the title had nothing to do with the movie Kingsman, I probably would have still dressed that way because I'm in this stage of my life where you wouldn't see me technically wearing a whole b-boy, quote unquote, stereotypical outfit. And the music I wanted to reflect that as well. The journey, the subject matter is more something that I'm experiencing now versus when I was 20 or 30. So it wouldn't have made sense to me if I was 20 or 30 that I might have dressed like that because it might not have matched the aesthetic.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then, speaking of that, and we've danced around it a little bit, but the music on Child of a Kingsman, I thought was also pleasantly, it was surprising to me and unexpected, but also in a great way. And
Right.
Change for My Two Cents is one of those where you have the horn, I believe, a trumpet. It
Yeah.
sounds like you had, and a lot of horns throughout, but it seems like live instrumentation.
Yeah.
So, as somebody that studies and listens to all ranges of music, or many at least,
Yeah.
how and why did you feel comfortable embracing that in such a deep capacity on Child of a Kingsman?
I felt the trust in who I was asking to collab with. If it was like if I was collabing with a musician or composer for the first time and I wasn't aware of what their output would be, where we are just experimenting in the studio, then it would have been a little bit harder for me to navigate what are we going to do. I kind of like opened the door to, like, for example, Keon Harold on that song. When I featured him, I really wanted to feature him, not have his horns play the background. That's why I specifically chose to let him almost technically speak like he was doing a verse before my verse versus him just playing the background on the same thing. And there was a few other tracks on the album I had that same thought in mind. One of the main feedback I got was someone said they loved the song, but they thought that I came in my vocals started too late in the track. And I said, perfect. When they told me that, I said, perfect. And I said, I did that on purpose because I wanted Keon to to shine on that, to set the tone of what it was basically saying. It was like grief, despair, suffering, celebration, all of that above. And that was the whole point. It was like he was cooking some food, and then the temperature just got bubbling and bubbling to the point, okay, now breathe. And that's when I wanted to go in with the verse no hook, and just go from there to explain what's been going on here. And that's pretty much what we got, from that. And I let Keon, I mean, God, he did it almost. It was almost like technically he did it in one take. He did it in one take. He just added layers to it, but he was already on the same page I was before he went in the mic booth. That's the same exact feeling when I've ever asked an MC to come in and I knew, for example, a Supernat or a Planet Asia or a Razcast would go and do a verse. I knew if they knew what the aura is to begin with, they would take it in and fly with it. And that's exactly what he did. So there was no change ups. There was no 50 takes or multi edits. When he delivered it, it was like, it was dead on. And he came in there just hearing a few notes of where I was going. He hadn't heard my lyrics yet. So that was amazing he was able to do that. But that's because he's such a brilliant artist himself, and he's worked with other great minds. So I was almost following his lead, even though he would probably say he was following my lead. But the fact that he did what he did, and he didn't do too little and he didn't do too much, that was all I asked for.
And then tied into that as a producing or co-producing many, if not all of the songs on Child of a Kingsman, how did that go in a potentially different direction dealing with live musicians versus drum programming or
Yeah,
keyboards or whatever,
yeah,
and then also doubling as or the featured artist main rapper too.
yeah. I did have. I'm not going to say I had a leash on everyone, but I did explain. I had an idea that I wanted to do. I wanted to showcase everyone in their unique way without overdoing it, because I knew it would catch a lot of people off guard. I caught myself off guard what I was doing, but I asked for, how do I say it? I asked for just enough for everyone without overly asking. Um, could I have asked more? Yes, but I didn't want to ask more. I wanted to do, for our first time working together, this would almost, like I said, when you heard the Jazzmatazz from Guru, that was when you first heard the first album, that to him was probably, okay, I could breathe. Everyone's accepting it. Let's go and do Jazzmatazz 2. That's what this album felt like. It felt like a breath of fresh air to step out of my comfort zone just a little bit, not too attached from the boom bap, but just enough to be like, okay, this is, because I've performed live with bands before, but I've never done it on a full album like this. So that's kind of like the vibe I gave. Give me just enough so that I could take this and share the essence of what Wildchild does with a sense of a taste of what you guys do, and meet me halfway. So it was like just enough.
Understood. And with change from my two cents as well, as is also a theme throughout Child of a Kingsman, there's a lot of political stuff. So it's not just about hip hop culture and preserving it. It's also obviously about the Black experience in America,
Right,
especially dealing with politics and the police.
right,
And with change from my two cents, one of the things you talk about people half marching in silence, half support violence. And then on top of that, how Black homicide goes unnoticed. And
yeah.
this is, these are unfortunately centuries old issues.
Right.
So why do you think that these have been sustained situations that we all have to deal with, black, white, or whatever, in our country even today?
Um, it's unfortunate, but I feel like I didn't want to get this album to become something where I'm trying to preach too much, but I wanted to give something really easy listening to the ear, because the moment you fall into that category or fall too on the side of education, it gets labeled that, and then it taints your ear what you're possibly predicting you're going to hear or what you're listening. So I had to figure out a way to still shed light on what's currently going on and what's previously happened, but at the same time, make sure you don't turn a blind eye to something I may have said that's like, oh yeah, okay, I did notice that this happening. Oh yeah, I heard this, but coincidentally, I'm turning the TV on and I'm seeing what I just heard or a sense of it. I was trying to bridge those two gaps, and unfortunately, it's going to continue to happen. But if we don't shed light on it at all, if not hint at it, um, it's going to continue for the next generation to feel like we don't care. It's like acceptable. It's what used to be a fad is now true, and we're normalized to it. No, we're not normalized to it. That's the reason why I got the title changed. That title basically reflected everybody who has something to say, but no one's trying to make change out of it. And everyone has their 2 cents this way, 2 cents this way. Well, while we're on the left side, we're on the right side. Something's got to change. Something's got to change. You know what I'm saying? So that was the whole point of it, and the aspect of where I was going with it. But I hope that it just it sticks to the mental. A lot of times through music, catching people off guard with it, it'll stick to the mental. We're used to being trained from. I only thought I would hear something like this from KRS-One or Tyler Kweli, or something like that. I'm not used to hearing this from an Anderson.Paak or a Wildchild. So that's why I was like, okay, we got to still speak on what needs to be said.